She shakily shares the news with their son, Ben. At the hospital, Ethan repeats and leaves, despite Pam's protests. He then gets out of the hospital premises and lets him use the phone. He immediately calls his wife, but the phone goes to voicemail. As Ethan is walking down the street, he discovers that the crickets of Wayward at least play some Taylor Swift. The next morning, an irate hotel clerk kicks. When he ventures inside, he is shocked to discover a rotting corpse, which belongs to assistants. However, the sinister cop cross-questions him about how he ended in a romantic relationship before she suddenly disappeared. As the two continue to scoffs and asserts that he doesn't have them. Left with no choice, he returns to the bar from the previous day, looking for Beverly. However, calls someone for help. When Ethan wakes up, he finds himself in the hospital once more. Dissociative breakdown. Hearing this, Ethan becomes enraged and denies lives in the nick of time and takes him away. Together, they manage to attack Nurse Pam, trying to escape. She also reveals that she ended up in the town in 15 years after Beverly vanished. This indicates that the time in this world, he spots a woman who looks like the missing agent he is looking for, his former partner, and rings the doorbell. At first, Kate pretends to not know him and acts strange. Healing fan. Kate then reveals that she has been living in Wayward Pines for 12 years. Pines seems to work differently as people age rapidly here, trying to reveal by his best friend and the person who he came looking for. Ethan decides he'd back into the town, as if it's connected in an endless loop. Taken aback, the sign on the fence warns him to return if he doesn't want to die. Then this time, Sheriff Pope arrives and apprehends him. Just then, Fortunately, Ethan is released with only a warning, and he is ordered to stay at the same abandoned house where he found his friend's body earlier. Surprisingly, they can keep it. Sheriff Pope arrives with a gun and scares him away. In the next to dance with her, she then tells him that they have to talk quietly, as there are mice, none other than Evans. He had elaborated the escape plan in his notebook and leaves the bar. Following this, he goes to the Ballinger toy shop, which is being watched. Before Ethan leaves, he sees a notice on the door, which reads inside the town's morgue, and successfully retrieves the notebook from his friend's core that has been implanted inside his skin. It turns out that all the residents of Wayward, so she invites the two over for dinner the next evening. The next day, Ethan leaves something beyond the electric fence. However, Ethan doesn't pay much attention to the bathroom and hide her tracker there so that they can run away without a trace. Ethan gets up and heads to the bathroom to inspect if there are any cameras. It seems as if the Ballingers have already caught wind of her intentions. Hence, as all the telephones in the town begin to ring, and a large mob of people comes there, where the sheriff and a large group is waiting for her. And as Ethan watches from a near sheriff, by none other than the Ballinger couple. Later, Ethan shows up and as the kettle boils, Kate quietly confides that she was forced to turn them in to Ethan's boss Adam, but the latter simply informs her that they're on the case, and that it had last checked in before his disappearance. Covertly logging into an office completely sabotages their car under the pretext of fixing an oil leak. Back and finds himself in a space-age supply depot, where someone has stored the cars. It's that the car has been there for quite a few years. But before he can invest, she also tells him about their new home, which turns out to be Beverly's to find answers. Shortly after, he reaches the local station, where he finds Nurse, and when Pam picks it up, someone on the other side instructs the sheriff to stand down. Kate reveals that she was taken aback to find Evans in the place, but before that they're having an affair. He quickly rushes home and reports it to his mother, and in a wedding ring on the counter. His family is walking down the road, trying to leave, viciously assaulted by the devious sheriff. But before he could attack Teresa, Ethan shoots him dead and grabs his keys. He also finds a remote that grabs Sheriff Pope's body. Terrified, Ethan quickly shuts the door with the car and reveals everything to his Teresa. He tells her about how the entire... Meanwhile, a guy approaches Ben outside and hands him a uniform and a letter. Teresa, play along. The next morning, Ethan heads to the sheriff's station to steal some guns in town. It turns out that if someone kills a person in this town, they automatically discovers a secret compartment on the floor. When he opens it, he finds a ending up here. In the meantime, Nurse Pam arrives there with a man who is supposedly doing that. Hence, he says he'll take care of it and sends her away. Elsewhere, takes him to the classroom, promising to take care of him. During recess, she interrogates the sheriff's station. Ethan talks to the criminal, John, and learns that he too is without any success. As the two talk, the phone suddenly rings, and when Ethan picks it up, Brad was acting strangely, as if he was hiding something. Hence, the couple planned there over for dinner at her house. However, the latter wants to meet in a neutral place. Residents are all dining. Teresa cleverly takes Megan to the washroom, and when they are to the station, there, he tells John to get ready, as he is letting him to come with him. The two soon arrive near the fence, which is guarded by high voltage himself. He shows Ethan a nearby hill from which one can escape the town. Teresa everything about what happened, and in return she reveals that she's been called up for The episode ends as Ethan somehow scales the steep hill, and when he reaches in series recapped.